Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. This episode is brought to you by Arctic Food Equipment. I am so lucky at the National Restaurant Association Show 2025 to get to talk to somebody that I've looked up to for many years, Chef Rick Bayless, Frontera Grill, Shoko, and forgive me the one that I don't know how to pronounce.
Topolobampo.
Yeah. All right. I was at Frontera with my daughter last night. Unbelievable food. I've been there before.
Thank you.
The mole is unbelievable, and a little birdie told me that it took you a little while to get that to where you were comfortable putting it on the menu.
Well, we started off with the mole poblano, but I really wanted to put the king of all moles, which is the mole negro from Oaxaca. I wanted to put that on the menu, and it's really hard to make. It's hard to make it exactly right. You can make a hurry-up version of it, but it's not satisfying. And my goal was that if a Oaxacan grandmother walked through the door and ate my black mole, she would say, well, it's not like mine, but he knows what he's doing. And so, because you can never please the Oaxacan grandmothers, okay? Theirs is the only way to do it. But anyway, I will say that it took me 10 years to get that perfected so that I thought I could trust that those Oaxacan grandmas would be happy with my attempt at their black mole.
Well, I have your cookbook, and I wondered aloud if the mole recipe was in there. And then I thought to myself, I'm not going to make that. I'm going to let you make it for me. Is that one of the packaged sauces you sell with your Frontera brand or no?
We spend about 3 days making both the mole poblano and the mole negro in our restaurants every week. And so it is a labor of love. You don't make it for Wednesday night dinner. I always say that if you're making mole, it's got to be the equivalent of Thanksgiving, because you know how we all plan out our Thanksgiving dinners and we shop ahead of time and then we spend days getting ready for it. It's the same thing when people make moles in Mexico, that they're really celebrating something important.
Then I probably won't make it, but I will be making more trips to Chicago so you can make it for me. Okay, so you were born and raised in Oklahoma City, correct? How on earth does a guy who I heard you say grew up pretty much in a barbecue restaurant wind up so infatuated with Mexico that you move there and you become one of the premier chefs for Mexican cuisine around the world? How did you get there?
I went to Mexico when I was 14. I can't believe that it ever actually happened, but I planned a vacation for my family to go to Mexico City. I had fallen in love with learning about Mexican culture, and I really wanted to go and experience it firsthand. Our family had never been on an airplane. I planned at 14, planned every bit of that trip and where to eat and what the foods were going to be and all that sort of stuff. What I was really shocked about was that I grew up on Tex-Mex food, and when I got to Mexico City, I was very surprised that they didn't make Tex-Mex food. I didn't recognize anything. I mean, they would have the word enchilada on our menu, but it certainly didn't taste like the Tex-Mex enchiladas I grew up on. And so it was an eye-opening experience. I fell so in love with, I could say that I was there about 2 hours and I thought, oh my God, I have come home. This is my place. This is where I want to be. And it had to do with the richness of the culture. So that led me back there on several student trips during high school. Then I went to college. I studied Spanish language, literature, Latin American studies, ended up studying in Mexico. Went to graduate school in anthropology. I was really interested in culture, and I was really interested in the relationship between language and culture. But when I was working on my PhD dissertation, I realized that my real passion was the relationship between food and culture, and ended up moving back to Mexico and being there for 5 years and studying, going to every single state in the Mexican Republic and cooking with local cooks and really learning the cuisine.
So when you decided you wanted to take this trip as a 14-year-old, did you want to go to Mexico because of the culture or because of the food? In other words, did the food get you once you got to Mexico, or you already had a love for Tex-Mex?
I did not go for food. I, in fact, was not really taken by the food. I was taken more by the people and the culture of it and the ancient ruins and stuff like that. It took me a while to realize that I was kind of forced back into thinking about food and culture and Mexican food and culture later on, because I was teaching some cooking classes and people said, "You lived in Mexico, teach us about the food." And so that's when I started getting back into that aspect of the culture, and I loved it. Honestly, I fell head over heels in love with that aspect of the culture and have never turned back.
Thank God you did. How'd you end up in Chicago?
My wife's family is all here, and I knew that I needed to settle in a place that was a crossroads for a lot of people in the country, because I wanted to open a restaurant that I knew was a very niche restaurant. I didn't want to do Americanized Mexican food. I wanted to do the regional foods of Mexico, and I knew that we would need to have a sophisticated clientele to do that, and we would need a lot of people that were coming in as travelers to the place wherever I lived. And Chicago is really that. That's why we're downtown Chicago, because we're a huge place for conferences and conventions and stuff like that. So we are always having people come to Chicago, and they want to taste the food that we do. And it's not my food. It's the regional foods of Mexico that I shine a light on.
And for people who haven't been there, they're right there together. I didn't realize, because last time I was here, Shoko didn't exist the last time I was at Frontera. And I was like, oh, this is completely different. It's grown so much. Good job on that.
There's another one you don't even know about that's underneath Frontera that's called Bar Sótano. And it's a mezcal bar with a full kitchen. We call it a dining bar. And it's sort of modern Mexican bar food, but it's a full menu. And that one's that's the newest one. It's about 4 years old now.
Well, who do you know that could get me in there?
I don't know. I'm not promising anything.
Well, if you change your mind, you know where to find me. Okay, you have a foundation that really impresses me. You support farmers, and tell me how that originated. I just think the philanthropic side of you is, you have an artistic side, you have very much a business side, culinary side, but I love the philanthropic work that you do. What about that foundation that helps farmers?
So 25 years ago, we started this foundation that we call the Frontera Farmer Foundation, and we started it because I'd lived in places in Mexico that had amazing food, and it was always connected to local agriculture. The places that have good local agriculture have really good food, and I said, if we're going to put Chicago on the map as a great restaurant town, we really have to build up local agriculture. So I was on the founding board of the Green City Market, now one of our country's biggest farmers markets. But when we opened Frontera, there was not a single farmers market in this city, and it was hard to find any kind of local produce. And so I set about trying to do that. But what I realized about 5 years into that was that there were just not enough farmers that had the capacity to really provide for our restaurants. They could give us what I call window dressing stuff, small quantities of vegetables and fruits to put on the menu, but it wasn't the heart and soul of our cuisine. And so we started the Frontera Farmer Foundation in a way to provide capital improvement grants for small Midwest family farms. And we have invested in small grants. They're between $12,000 and $15,000, but small grants to about 250 farms in our area, totaling about $3.5 million.
That's amazing. You mentioned today when you were doing your cooking that the beans that you found somewhere in the Yucatan Peninsula, you like them so much, you have someone here that grows them around the Chicagoland area.
Because beans are easy to grow in lots of places, and yes, we can do that. And I'm very, very happy to say that so much over the years we have been able to bring seeds back or cuttings back or whatever it might be and actually get the local farmers to grow them. So we're both supporting traditional cooking from Mexico, but we're also supporting our local farmers.
For over 30 years, Arctic Food Equipment has proudly served the backbone of America's restaurant industry, right here in the heart of Springfield, Missouri. We're not just a supply house, we're your partner. From kitchens large to small, we build value-based relationships, always exceeding expectations with quality products and expert support. Trusted, reliable, American-made values. That's Arctic Food Equipment. Together, we help build the taste of our nation. Stop by or call today. Arctic Food Equipment. We're working hard so your kitchen can too. The tools you trust, the partner you deserve.
How often do you get to Mexico?
I'd say 6 or 7 times a year. It's a super easy flight from Chicago. My wife and I have an apartment in Mexico City, and we can leave here in the morning and by noon be at our apartment in Mexico City. So it's an easy commute.
Springfield, Missouri, where I live, is we are a sister city to Tlaquepaque, Mexico. Yeah, have you been to Tlaquepaque?
Oh, of course, yeah. It's just one of the suburbs of Guadalajara, but it's a suburb where you find a lot of the artisanía being done, really cool furniture making and glass blowing and on and on and on.
Well, Rick Bayless, it is so nice to meet you, and I know you're limited on your time. I could talk to you all day, but keep up the good work. Thank you so much, and keep on keeping on.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for me to be able to connect with you and share a bit of my story.
Well, you're a Midwest guy, so you are welcome in Springfield anytime.
Thank you very much.
Wow. How cool was that to get a chance to speak with a chef like that, Rick Bayless, who was so gracious and kind. And I want to say a big thanks to him and his staff and everyone at the National Restaurant Show for making this show possible and allowing people like him to sit and talk to people like me and you about the food we enjoy every single day. What a treat that was. By the way, the National Restaurant Show, according to their statistics, last year had about just shy of 60,000 attendees from 124 countries, over 700,000 square feet of food and drink. And that's why I go, because it is so much fun. It's so delicious. And you get to hang out with all these people who are like-minded in the way that we all love to eat good food, because frankly, life is too short not to. I want to share with you some of the trends from the restaurant show that I learned this year. The Saturday before the show starts, early in the morning, there's a press breakfast to get us all up to speed on what's happening in the food and hospitality industry and some of the trends we're going to see on the show floor. Some of the things that I want to share with you are the top trends that we're seeing this year. I won't go through all of them, but I want to go through some of them. Workforce efficiency is one of them. Training the restaurant staff, training those folks to work smarter and not harder, encouraging those folks to work in roles that suit them and let them shine in those roles. This can help with retention and employee satisfaction. By the way, those of you in the audience, you hear the word robotics, don't be afraid of that. Robots are not going to replace a ton of jobs in this industry. On the other hand, what we're being told is they will help automate the mundane things that have to be done. For example, there was a company called RoboFry that will speed activity in food fryers, AI technology that will monitor grills and griddles and cue the operators when the food is ready or when it is about to be ready. So those frontline employees don't have to spend their time doing that. They can be out greeting customers and making the customer experience a better one. Wellness. This was probably my very favorite trend, because this was a little bit mind-blowing. Consumers are aligning their dining habits with their health goals, which is really not that mind-blowing. That totally makes sense. But the trend is being driven by something. Raise your hand if you know what I'm going to say. The GLP-1 drugs, right? The Ozempic and Mounjaro users in this country have less of an appetite. They want smaller portions. They want better quality. They're not as hungry. They're not eating as much. They're not buying as much at the grocery store. So grocery stores are feeling it. Restaurants are feeling it. And I am told that there's about a 6% drop in grocery spending for a household with one GLP-1 user. And that about 9% of the people in the United States are taking a GLP-1. Pretty incredible. Now, speaking of, I also read something in Nation's Restaurant News about how Smoothie King actually launched a GLP-1 support menu back in October of 2024 that had drinks designed to be a meal replacement full of protein and fiber. So we're changing. Everything's changing. And that means not only is your bottom changing, but the bottom line in the restaurants and the grocery stores and the household budget is also changing. Okay, so there's a lot to keep up with here. Another thing, speaking of wellness, people are cutting back on alcohol consumption. They're not drinking as much. The sales of alcohol down, sales of mocktails way up. Sales of lower alcohol beverages or no alcohol beverages way up. I know for a fact that I enjoy the lower alcohol, lower sugar wines. I think they're incredibly satisfying and very tasty. THC infused beverages, hemp infused, THC infused, are all over the National Restaurant Show this year, and they were last year, and they're quite good, I will tell you. You have to, sort of tiptoe in a little bit, get into the shallow end a little bit. Make sure you don't get in over your head if this isn't something you're used to. But the bitterness of the flavors of those drinks is going away. They're a lot smoother and they're very satisfying. So that's one of the things we saw a lot of this year. Okay, I've got my notes out here. Off-premise growth is huge. 50% of restaurant operators are saying that off-premise represents a larger portion of their total sales in 2025 than it did in 2019. So people are driving up, they're ordering in, they're picking it up, they're taking it home. So there's a need for more to-go packaging, faster drive-thrus. You know as well as I do, we are seeing multiple drive-thrus in and around the 417. And sometimes the consumer needs a little help figuring out which lane to get in. And so the restaurant chains are trying to figure out who to put on what lane to better optimize the time, shave a little time off, and make the whole thing go faster without tying up traffic for so long. I read in Nation's Restaurant News another article that said Zaxby's shaved 20 seconds off its average drive-through time, and it is handing food out the window in clear bags because this way the consumer can see what's in the bag, make a quick check of it, and let them know if the right sauce is in the bag. That way the consumer accuracy scores go up a little bit because, people sometimes will turn that into the restaurant and say, well, you got my sauce wrong. And now Zaxby's kind of figured out a way to help you get it right. You get to see it up close before you leave the parking lot, which I think is a really great idea. Flavors, my favorite. Okay, what's the big flavor in 2025? Asian flavors leading the pack with heat and smoke. People like a little spice. They like a little smoky flavor. Think spicy, fruity, smoky, all of those at once. We saw and we tasted a lot of products that reflected this, and they're delicious. We're going to see those for a good while moving forward. Anyway, the National Restaurant Show in Chicago is always so much fun. It is always enlightening, and you got to think about all of the things that go into this. It's not just the food, right? It's not just the ingredients. There are all sorts of other things that go into this business. You've got straws, napkins, plates, dryers, hand dryers in the bathroom, aprons, patio fans, patio heaters, spatulas, all of the things that go into making a restaurant work. So much goes into it, and these people work so very hard to give all of us a good experience. So my takeaway is, and the message I want to leave with you is, be nice, tip your server, and enjoy every single meal. Because like I said at the top of this, life is too short not to. In the coming weeks, I'm going to bring you a lot more content from the National Restaurant Show in Chicago, including some chats with people in our neck of the woods. You may have heard of Show Me Barbecue Sauce out of Rocheport, Missouri. I'm going to have a little chat with them. I'm also going to talk to a company called Natural State Rabbit out of Rogers, Arkansas. I don't know the last time I had any rabbit, but it is very tasty. And this company is just fascinating. I'm going to talk to Melinda's Craft Pepper Sauces. You'd be hard-pressed to walk into any store in the country and not find Melinda's sauces. They're delicious. I'm going to talk to the folks from Avocados from Mexico. Plus, I ran into a couple of folks you're going to know from around here in the 417. Chef Mike Jalili from Char, Flame, and Black Sheep, and Chef Aaron Gregory from SGC Food Service. So lots more to come. Thanks for listening to Savor the Ozarks. We drop a new episode every single Friday at aroundtheozarks.com, on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. And a big shout out to our sponsor, Arctic Food Equipment. Thanks for listening, everybody. More to come. Be sure to go to aroundtheozarks.com to sign up for our daily newsletter where you can get every episode of Savor the Ozarks, plus all our other podcasts, events, and contests straight to your inbox. And what are your favorite dishes in the 417? You have any restaurants you'd like me to visit? Email me at joy@aroundtheozarks.com.